Hi, and welcome to another Race Stories with Billy and Sam. This is the Ocala slashy edition, Galveston. So we're going to go ahead and discuss our weekend and tell you about Ocala. So if you wanted to hear about our weekend, great. If you wanted to hear about Ocala, great. You get to hear both.
It's like a 2-in-1, man.
So, I feel like we should really start with Chuck E. Cheese because that was fascinating.
Okay, so we start with the trip down. So Charlotte and I drove to Ocala, and you drove over from Jacksonville to Ocala. And so this is the plan. We're going to drive to Ocala. We're going to drive away from Ocala and fly to Texas, then fly back home. But the Ocala race, we're driving down, and it is Carter's birthday, April 1st. So we go to Chuck E. Cheese. I did not bring the picture, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. What a shame. We'll discuss it. We're going to tell you how this was not an accidentally leaving it there.
So night before the race, our typical pre-race meal is pizza. So to combine Carter's birthday with pizza,
Jennifer had come up with the wonderful idea of having it at Chuck E. Cheese.
It has been a long time since I've been at Chuck E. Cheese. 15 years, maybe. When I went, they had tokens, so you purchased the tokens or whatever, and you put tokens in the machines, and you played the games or whatever. They no longer have tokens.
No, it's all card-based.
And like RFID or whatever, where you tap the card. Kind of like getting into a hotel room where you tap the card and the door unlocks, where you tap the card and the game unlocks.
If you're turning 3... you figure out that card real quick.
I mean, for the first 10 minutes or so, she was having so much fun going around, getting in the machine, seeing the demo or whatever. And then she saw somebody that taps the card, and something else happened on the screen. I want to do that.
Yeah. So it started out with Daddy tap this, and then it ended with, just hand me the card. Let's just cut out the middleman here. I don't know why we're wasting each other's time. I'll take the card. Thank you. I got this. So, yeah. That's how it ended up.
So I'm over there, and remember, it's been 15 years since I've been at Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese is like a casino for kids.
Yeah.
The lights and the sounds and the music, it's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah,
right?
it's a lot. Yes.
And so I'm kind of sitting there in a daze, like, taking it all in. And so Chuck E. Cheese has this car that Chucky is in, and you sit next to him, and it rides and rides and rides, and then it takes a picture at the end. And the kids don't always pick up their pictures, and our table is right here next to the ride or whatever, and so we have 3 or 4 pictures sitting at the table, and I'm looking at one of the pictures, and I'm like, is that me?
So, all right, we should back up further, right? You used to have the tokens, and you'd buy whatever, 50 tokens, 100 tokens, whatever. Now you still can buy like number of plays or whatever, or they have the unlimited. You can play for an hour for one cost. So kids were doing stuff, and nobody's paying attention because it didn't cost any extra money. And this particular thing took a picture, so it was like I don't know what to call those. Those like cars that are in front of shopping malls. Those like that go up and down. But this one also took a picture, and so the kids never grabbed the picture. So this one particular picture had kid having fun and Billy standing creepily in the background. It was hilarious.
And I'm still in a daze because I'm taking in all the sounds and everything, and I'm like,
so very funny. So yeah, the Chuck E. Cheese was clean. I would go back. I'm sure we will be back at some point.
You have to get used to it, and the games are different. They still have skee-ball, and I can't remember what other
they have
games.
a few of the like token-based games where you like drop stuff and try to hit the trucks or the whatnot. So some of those old games are still around, but
it's almost all new stuff that I had never seen before.
Yeah,
but still fun. It just you need to probably go a couple times before you get back used to Chuck E. Cheese. And the pizza was good.
And the pizza was very good.
So
They were very proud of everything there.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't cheap. You pay for the experience along with the pizza.
So successful trip, and the kids were instantly ready to go back to Chuck E. Cheese. So that was a lesson there. So Ocala the next day, I had gotten there about 12 hours ahead of Billy because I left on time.
I left on time too. I left in plenty of time to go check in. We were going to be there to be able to check in, but mind you, this is a smaller race, so they have morning of check in, and so I just called Sam and I was like, hey, we can go check in or we can just meet you at Chuck E. Cheese, whichever's better. And he's like, well, let me go check in and see what the deal is, and then I'll call you. And so he went and checked in, and he's like, there's no reason for you to come check in today.
I took
just meet us at Chuck E. Cheese, and it'll be fine. And which was cool for us because it was like 20 or 30 minutes from Chuck E. Cheese to the race. And so we had to drive down there, so that saved us an hour and a half. So we got to have more time at Chuck E. Cheese.
Hey, you're trying to get the skee ball in the little tiny looking. I don't know how that's not. Yeah, it can't be done.
So that's pretty cool. The next morning, I mean, so we go to the hotel, check in, crash. I think. I mean, it wasn't anything really.
So they had warned us. I just happened to be there at the same time as he was given the spiel. And he said, hey, there's going to be weather tomorrow. We may start people early, so go ahead and show up 15 minutes earlier than you normally would, just in case, we can pull the gun early, so that we can get everybody out of here before the weather starts.
Which was going to be perfect for us because we were on a time crunch.
Yeah.
Race starts 7:30. We had to be wheels up, driving down the road at 2 o'clock. We had done the math, and 2 o'clock was no shower. I mean, 2 o'clock was, we had time to go, that was the amount of time that we needed to be able to get to the airport. So, we get there early-ish, which was, I mean, no big deal. They have a pretty cool, innovative racking system for your bike. Get everything set up. I guess we should talk about the racking system. So the racking system it's homemade, right? I mean, It's wooden. The front or rear tire goes into it. There's a box beside it. They had a stool for everyone to sit on. Plenty of room. It's really cool. I mean, as far as transition,
I love it. Yeah, so it's holding, right? So 99 times out of 100, it's the bar up top, and then the saddle hangs on it, or your handlebars hang on it, and you're pulling it down. This is from the ground up, so it creates the natural box for your stuff. So it looks a lot like the professional style, right? Because those guys all have their own space for all their junk, and so you don't have to lay out your towel; it's just already there. So it's set up like that for everybody, and it's incredible because they don't do huge races. So you can do things for 200 people that you can't do for 2,000. And so it's fantastic, and I love this company for it. They had purchased new stools. It's the exact same collapsible stool that I use. I found it, I don't know, last year. It was on Amazon, so it folds flat. It's about yay thick. But it's a series of interlocking plastic pieces, so you can get it up reasonably high. So they had old stools that were pretty sun damaged. They were pretty well beat. So between January and now, they had replaced all of their stools. So these were brand new.
Your stool had your name on it.
Yeah, they had a sticker with your name on it.
So it wasn't. I mean, they knew where you were supposed to set up, and that was your stool. So people weren't about to steal your space or your stuff. Yeah.
Somewhere it was out of the swim. I sit on my stool, and it just collapsed. Not like collapsed back down, like smashed. So I'm sorry, guys.
Did you break their stool?
Dude, I destroyed their stool. Well past broken. I don't know how I did it. I was like, dang, man, less steak in Argentina is actually the answer, probably. But, I absolutely killed it. I was like, man, I have this stool. It works.
I thought that it had collapsed on you. I didn't realize it broke.
Oh, yeah, no.
All right, so anyway, we're already in a time crunch, so we want to start early because, I mean, 6.5 hours from the time that the race starts to the time that we have to be wheels up on the road is a short amount of time. Anyway, we get to mass start in the water. Mind you, there's less than 100 people in our... So they're doing a half, an Olympic, and a sprint all same day, all same transition.
Time.
Not at different... They start at different times. They started the half first, which makes sense. And it was a mass start in the water. 1 loop, 2 loops.
We were 2 loops.
2 loops in the water, and then you come out. It was a lake swim.
That lake is reasonably clear.
It was.
It's not like, let's not get crazy, but you could see other competitors around you, so it's not like you were swimming in the dark.
You would want tinted glasses because there was one section where you're kind of looking into the sun. I mean, it's a triangle or a square? Diamond. Okay. So out, over, back. So and then you did that twice. The second time you come in, there's an orange buoy and you're heading for the shore. And then you it's not, I mean, it's a little ways from the shore to transition, but we've had much further than that, maybe a couple hundred yards.
But they did have wetsuit strippers.
They did have wetsuit strippers. They sure did. That was nice. So you get out, we go into transition. So, mind you, we're using the wetsuit the next day. And it is sunny, but we knew the rain was going to come in around 1 o'clock. So, mind you, we have to be on the road by 2. At 1 o'clock, it's going to rain. So we hang our wetsuits. One thing about having the poles is you can hang the wetsuits on the poles where the bikes is. We were close enough to the side where they had these plastic fence barriers or whatever. We laid it over there. And then any stories on the swim or anything that you can think of?
Nothing on the swim.
So head out on the bike. Tell us about bike.
So bike is an out and back is all I know to call it. You kind of
and that was how they presented it. If you haven't gone 28 miles, you hadn't gotten to the end.
So there were more than it was the police were at everywhere they needed to be. It was a well regulated race. I kind of felt like there were times like, man, I'm on the right road. There's just not a lot of people. So I would have liked to have seen, give me a 5-mile marker or every couple of miles or something just for those long stretches. Like, hey, you're still good. I swear you're still on the way.
There were 0 mile markers.
None.
Not a single one.
There was a turn cone.
Yeah.
But anywhere that there was a cop needed or you had a turn, there was one there. So just I'm complaining about lack of mile markers, but the rest of it was fine.
Yeah. I mean, there was signage. And you could have gotten lost, but you would have had to try to get lost. There were times where I wondered if I was on the right road, but as long as you didn't turn off that road, then you were fine.
Yes.
There was a 9.5 mile section of crap road.
Yes.
And you were on it twice. So 19 miles of crap road because you were out and back.
The rest of it was really good.
Yeah, the rest of it was fine.
I don't know how to grade those roads. I was going to call them. I really want to call them, better than average. Maybe a 6 out of 10.
I don't know. I'd say it average because that crap road was crap road. But there's a giant sign on the crap road that says "Your pennies at work." It's going to be repaid.
As you're going along, like, dude, you guys might need to contribute nickels here. Let's just start cranking this up.
But between 2021 and 2024, it's going to be new.
Yeah, so it's coming.
You got a 50-50 chance next year of it being really good roads the whole way. For me, my only story on the bike was I get to the 28-mile turnaround, and there's a cop there, and I have to stop and let all the traffic come through. I think he must just not have seen me.
Probably not.
because I had to wait for the traffic to come through, then I could make my U-turn.
Sounds like cops looking out for me. Thanks,
I
buddy.
mean, it didn't take but an extra 30 seconds. It wasn't a big deal. It was just kind of like,
Thanks for nothing, guy.
What's the point of having you here if I've got to stop and wait for the traffic to come by? They were open roads, and the people were not excited for us to be there, which is Florida. I mean, Florida people just, I don't know, they're over races.
Lots of bikers and lots of races.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, I didn't have anybody like intentionally try to run me off the road, but they were not as courteous as they should have been.
So, of course, I get out of the swim faster than Billy, and I'm going down, and I see him at like mile 6. I was like, come on, man, really? But Billy had actually come out with the clever idea of, hey, what if we brought our bikes, left them in the bags, and brought the backup bikes for this race? So since we're driving, we could ride backup bikes for this race. Bikes are already packed. The backup bikes can go home, and then that can save us 30 minutes of packing. I was like, that actually makes this a whole lot more doable.
And that 30 minutes was very important.
Yes.
So we're on our backup bikes.
So we are on the backup bikes, and for the second time, I just did not use my Allen wrench tight enough. My seat is slowly sinking down as I'm riding,
which makes your knees go up higher.
Man.
Are you looking like you're on the clown bike again?
Oh, it looked very clownish, and my knees were starting to hurt, and I was like, dude, I got to do this again tomorrow. I really don't want to do it with hurt knees. So Billy passes me, and then it occurs to me, hey, you might have a wrench. Hey, so I catch back up. Hey, man, do you have an Allen wrench? No.
So I have a 6mm Allen wrench to change out my wheels.
Yeah.
On the other bike.
Yeah.
I told you, I was like, oh, the only one I have is a 6mm, and I'm riding along, and I'm like, this is the backup bike. I don't even have a 6mm.
I have a full spare. Oh, I don't have actually the valve for my. That just occurred to me right in this moment. The valve for the CO2. So I have all of the parts that I could change the tire.
Put the air into the tire.
There's no way to actually. I have the air, but
so on that note, I don't even have a spare kit on the spare bike. And so I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, all I got to do is get ahead of Sam. Because if I get ahead of Sam, eventually he'll come by and I can ask him for his spare kit. So good to know that neither one of us, we just would have had flat tires. I mean, we couldn't afford to have flat tires. We didn't have that much time.
There was not time. So I get to the halfway point and I ask the volunteer, like, hey, do you have a 4mm wrench? And he stares at me. I don't know. English might not have been his first language. And then dude comes out of the bathroom with a bike. I was like, hey, man, do you happen to have a 4mm wrench? He's like, I do.
So you got it fixed.
Dude, I cranked that thing so hard it may never open. Oh, man. Immediately felt so much better.
I was wondering what happened. So after I passed you, the first turn, it wasn't that far. The first turn there was a police officer there, and I was like, hey, man, do you happen to have any Allen wrenches in your car? And he thought for a second. He's like, nah, I sure don't. He said, but there's an aid station that's not too much further up there. Well, this is mile 10. The aid station that was like mile 12 and a half or 13 or something. It wasn't just right up there. And I'm looking at it in the aid station. It's 2 dudes off on the side of the road sitting in chairs looking at me. And I'm looking at them, and I'm like, that's not an aid station, man. That's just 2 dudes sitting on the side. I mean, it was an aid station, but they weren't.
We got to talk about it. So when you have an aid station, the object is to be able to give nutrition and fluids to who we're going to call racers. Racers are on road bikes, which go on the road. This is all very important information. So if you're putting your aid station along the road, then you're in great shape. If you're putting your aid station like 20 miles off the dang road, they had all full water bottle. Nobody had touched a thing because they couldn't get to it. I think there was a moat. There might have been alligators. I don't know.
It really was down in a ditch.
It was forever away.
Maybe they couldn't. Maybe since when it came off the road, there wasn't enough road.
Yeah, and probably right if it was slanted coming off the road and the table was wobbly and falling back or
whatever. But you get out of your chair and be standing standing up by the road and handing people
with
stuff.
a water bottle.
Yeah, so, yeah. It was just those particular volunteers were not trained correctly.
Aid station got a 1 banana.
That one did. I mean, the other ones were okay.
That was the same one twice. We hit that one on the way back. That was the third aid
okay,
station.
but the halfway station.
So the halfway station was fine because you were halfway and you were doing a U-turn. That was perfectly fine. So the one aid station, which we see twice, failed. So overall, I'm going to give it like a fail. That's 2 F's and a B. So you guys weight that however you want to.
So what you're saying is you didn't like the aid stations?
The aid station had a problem. Yes.
I mean, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I don't know if that's what you're saying.
I just want to be
checking.
clear. I want to make sure that I am exceptionally clear to the Alpha Wind guys. Please don't let those volunteers volunteer ever again.
So any other bike stories?
No, man. I don't. There was not a lot of chances to talk to people. There were 70 people in the race, maybe.
What? It was less than 100. Whatever it was. It was. Yeah, it was tough to talk to anybody. But typically, I don't know. Sometimes I'll ride with Sam. I mean, it depends on the race. This one we had to go, so
I was in a hurry.
Yeah. Anyway, so
it was the right thing to do.
I come in off the bike, put my bike stuff in. Go ahead and so the girls hadn't gotten there yet. I pack up all my stuff in my plastic bag, tie it up, and put it outside of transition because I mean. The deal is they're not allowed to come in transition, but they can anything that's outside of transition they can get. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just hop off on the run. As soon as I see them on the run, I'll tell them to go chunk that stuff in the car, and then all that's left is our bike, and we can just take that off. So I'm heading out on the run, and it's a trail run. I would say
the whole thing is trail run.
I mean, there is that 3/4 mile section on the road, and then you come back 3/4 miles. That's 1.5 miles, and then you do that twice.
Yeah, so
3 miles.
Three of the 13
is on the road, but the rest of it is all in the woods on soft-ish
sand.
Sand. I mean,
hard
packed sand, but
sand
soft running surface. There were some places where the sand was a little more soft than what you wanted, but anyway, it was really. I loved the run.
It was a great run. I don't know that
shaded.
Yeah,
the whole time except for that road section, which was overcast anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're out on the run, and he called it bunny ears. It was not
I don't
bunny
know how
ears. So you run in a loop.
So you went like kind of up one side and down the other, and then the other was just an up and back. So maybe like TV bunny ears.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Whatever it was, you passed the one aid station like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah. So it's good for spectators.
Yeah, because they could just camp out in that one little area near transition and see everything. So, I mean, I loved the run. The aid stations were a little further apart than what I would want them to be, but, I mean, since it was overcast or even if it was sunny, it was shaded almost the whole way.
Really
I think you're probably fine. But mind you, they had the Olympic course and the sprint course all of that together, and at some points you were out on the run with all of those guys. You were out on the bike with them too.
I mean, it was a small enough race that it never felt crowded, so we never had any issues there.
Yeah, no issues. So I do the first loop, and I see Sam. I'm coming back on the second set of bunny ears, and Sam's going out, and he's like, the girls are at the aid station, the main aid station where you pass a whole bunch of times. So I get to the main aid station, and what I'm wanting to do is tell them about my stuff that's outside of transition so they can pick it up. And they're nowhere to be found. And then Jennifer's kind of way off in the distance, and I'm like, where's Charlotte or whatever? And so Charlotte comes running up, and I'm like, hey, I got a blue bag, something, and she's holding it. Or she's like, I got it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I take off, and we're going. On the second loop, so far the rain has held off. And
I'm making these jokes. We're doing the first loop, and I mean, the sky's getting dark. This is happening. It's like, man, this is going to be a wet run on the second lap. This ain't gonna be fun.
So I do the first loop of the second half, and then it's thundering, and I'm like, oh crap. And so I pick up my pace a little bit. And then I go out on that road section, and I'm coming back. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, all right, I know what time it is. So Sam, and I need to get Sam's bike out of transition. So I see Sam I pass him again. Hey man, give me your wristband. So he rips off his wristband. Because that's the deal. If you have somebody's wristband, they'll give you their bike.
Yeah.
Give me your wristband. So
So, pro tip for your thieves out there: just start ripping wristbands. Hey, how nice is your bike? It's pretty crappy. Next to it.
So by this time it's thundering, and I've got, I don't know, a mile and a half left or something. I'm booking it. I'm like, I was wondering if I could get under 6 hours as I'm on the run, because I'm having actually a pretty decent day, and under 6 hours at this point is actually pretty good. And I look at my watch and I'm like, it's going to be close, but I don't think I'm going to make 6 hours. But then it started thundering, and I was like, I'm going to make 6 hours.
Hang on. Yeah. Motivation has changed.
Because the deal is my shoes that I'm running in, I've got to run in the next day. And so I don't want them to be soaking wet. I mean, I only had 2 pair of shoes, and 1 pair of shoes was for the plane, and the other pair of shoes was for the race. So if I could avoid getting the race shoes wet, then that would give me, an extra pair of.
You had a whole car going back to Athens.
Okay. Look, man, this is how I have 2 pair of shoes. I rotate, man. I've got the 1 pair of shoes for the plane and the 1 pair of shoes for the race. That's how it works.
I, however, brought 1 pair of shoes for this race because I knew it was going to rain, and then 1 pair of shoes that was already packed in my suitcase to go for the next race.
Way too much planning, man. I got the 1 pair of shoes for the race and the 1 pair of shoes for the plane.
These are my racing shoes. Got it. All right.
So I'm booking it back, and it's starting to sprinkle, and the wind is just, the wind is going.
You know it's going to happen.
I see the finish line, and I see the finish line, and all the barriers have blown over. Luckily, the time thing was still up, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make it. I think it was like 5:58 and change or whatever. Yes, got it. Nobody there at the end. So you run through the finish line, and there's a and by this time it's raining. It's not pouring, but it's raining. There's a shelter. I duck right up under the shelter, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, nobody gave me any finish swag, no medal, no anything. And so I walk up and I see the medals. I'm like, I'm supposed to get my own medal. And then they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. We had people handing out medals, but the wind blew everything over, so they left. That. And they were like, and so I got the medal, and there were 2 medals. There was one that was smaller than the other. I was like, which one am I supposed to get? And she was like, oh, I think either one are fine. And I'm like, oh, well, this one's bigger.
Yeah.
I'm getting the bigger one.
Give me the big one.
And so, man, it's a decent medal.
It's a reasonable medal.
Yeah, decent strap. It was good. So I grabbed the medal, and I'm looking at the other racers, and I'm like, did y'all get anything else besides the medal? I wanted to make sure that I got my hat or a towel. I don't know if they were giving out anything else. Yeah. They were not giving out anything else. There was food, and everybody's over there kind of talking or whatever, and I'm like, I got to go.
See ya.
So I head out of the little shelter, and the shelter's kind of right at the swim start, so 200 yards, 150 yards of transition. So I'm running to transition, and the car is gone.
Oh, no.
And I'm like,
oh, no.
What in the world are they thinking? Why have they moved our car? And so I'm running up to our bikes, and our bikes are gone.
Whoop, the rapture just happened. All right.
and this time I see the cars over here, and you already told me that you wanted your bike on the inside of the car and to take the wheel apart. And I see them there. So Charlotte and Jennifer are over here kind of in the corner, and they have the bikes. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well, they got the bikes. Good. So let me run up and take your bike apart, stick it in the car. It's raining. It's not pouring again. Yeah. Again, it's raining. Put my bike on the back, grab my clothes, head into the bathroom. I'd already asked them. I was like, there's no showers in there. And they're like, no, we already checked. And I was like, all right, well, I've got wet wipes. I'm going to go kind of wash off. So go into the bathroom, do my wet wipe wash off, change clothes or whatever. Take off my shoes, and now I'm just in socks because now it's pouring.
Yeah.
But that's okay because my shoes are dry.
Did you bring 2 pair of socks too? One for the plane and one for the race?
No, I had plenty of socks.
Hang on, so it's okay to bring more pairs of socks. Got it.
Shoes are big, man.
Note.
They take up a lot of space.
In the car.
So anyway, so I go put all my stuff back in the car, and I realize I still have my timing chip. And by this time, so Charlotte has pulled up next to the bathroom or whatever, and we know that you're coming, and I see you, and you still have your timing chip, and because
it didn't even occur to me.
There was nobody at the end of the race that was taking off timing chips. And so I was like, hey, man, give me your timing chip. And so I go run and take the timing chips back and give them to somebody. Somebody who looked like they wanted
Here, you know what to do with these.
Who wants timing chips? Yeah. Run back. You know, my socks are soaked, but it doesn't matter because I can leave those in the car. And hop in the car. 1:58 on the clock. Yes! We nailed it. We take off. So we're heading down the road.
So the plan. My racing experience. If you finish 20 minutes after Billy, you get rained on. Passing one dude, and I mean he looks like he's struggling. I was like, buddy, you're doing great. Just remember, the faster you go right now, the less time you spend in the rain. So suddenly I hear footsteps picking up behind me. Okay, solid. You gotta figure out how to motivate people. But yes, I'm hearing that same thunder and lightning. Like, dude, this isn't gonna count.
I mean, it gave us plenty of warning.
The rain. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No. We knew. So at some point, I took a wrong turn. And it was my fault on the runs, right? There's nobody out there. I saw the cone, and I don't know what I was thinking, but whatever. So I'm running the wrong way. Like, this doesn't look right. So I turn around. Okay. It wasn't right.
You did the loop twice. This is on the first loop or the second loop?
Second loop.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you'd already done it one time.
I'd already known better. Yeah, that's why I know it didn't look right. I was like, man, this isn't good. And I found a bull. I don't know. It was strange. There were clocks spinning backwards. It's Ocala. We don't ask questions. So yeah, now I'm really in a hurry because I've just added extra to my race. So I'm coming across the finish line. And my brain was just not working. So Tom, the owner of the race, go that way. Right over there, right over there. I just keep on going. Where are you going?
After you pass the finish line, you keep going straight.
No. I was trying to go around the bathroom and come at the finish line that way, and it was go in front of the bathroom and go to that way.
Okay.
So I mean, I knew roundabouts where the finish line was. We were going to get there eventually. I was wondering where you were going. So I'm watching my clock like, dude, this is going to be tight. Sure enough. So I crossed the finish line. Thanks so much, man. I'll see you next week because we're gonna do this race, the same Alpha win in Napa next week, and take off to the car because I'm watching the clock. So yeah, it's now 5:58, or excuse me, 1:58. All right. So the plan was brilliant planning. Loved the plan. We were going to drive up to Jacksonville. Pop in, fly Jacksonville to Atlanta to Houston, drive down to Galveston, and then do that reverse, and Billy gets off in Atlanta, and I continue on to Jacksonville. So nice and easy. There's no cars in Orlando. There's nothing to worry about. So we had a solid plan. We are driving towards Jacksonville. We weren't far out of Ocala, and Billy
10 minutes maybe.
Billy gets an email or a text.
Hey, great news! You guys are going to go to Houston tomorrow.
Your flight's been canceled.
What? Bum, bum, bum.
So we knew, so from our planning, we wanted to do the Jacksonville to Houston to Atlanta route because that worked out better for us. It got us into Houston earlier. Plus, it got Sam back to Jacksonville for him to be able to go home. So it was an easier round trip. But we could have gone to Orlando, which the Orlando airport was actually closer than the Jacksonville airport. But the way the flights worked, we were getting into Houston later. So immediately we were like, turn the car around. Let's go towards Orlando, and we'll figure it out.
So I've called Delta as soon as he gets the text. I call Delta and I'm on a 78-minute hold. Excuse me. First it was like 30-minute hold, and then 20 minutes into that hold, I had 40 more minutes. So
yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, things were going wrong. I'm on the Google Flights looking up, like, what are my options for flying to Houston today? Because, those are always cheap tickets. Like, hey, I need a ticket in 10 minutes.
A one-way ticket to Houston that leaves
right
as soon as possible.
Yes, right now.
Those are really cheap
Those
tickets.
are the tickets they're really giving away.
Yes, those are the ones. Those are the ones that are like, we've got extra of these. Why don't we just give them to whoever wants them?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the airlines work.
That's exactly, that's why they're so profitable. Okay. So then you're on the text message, right? You call Delta and do the text message to see if that's any faster.
It was not.
And it was not. So I don't know. I mean, some of these people, right? We have the diamond status, so we get put in the front of the line. So there are rewards for staying with one airline, and that's a huge one. Because we've been on hold for 3 and 4 hours before, and that's like the length of the flight. Hey, I'm just going to get on this airplane, fly to Houston, and by the time I get off, you guys will be ready to pick up your phone. So finally, I get the guy. We're almost to Orlando, I think.
In the meantime, you have figured out while you're on hold, you figured out, all right, there's a United flight that goes directly from Orlando to Houston. So United, for Delta, their hub in the southeast is Atlanta. So pretty much everything goes through Atlanta. Well, United, their hub is in Houston, and so everything goes through Houston. So there's a direct flight from Orlando to Houston, whereas if we're on with Delta, there's a flight from Orlando to Atlanta to Houston, which there wasn't, but there was. I mean, it was either full or there was something wrong with it.
Yeah, there was. We were trying, and he could not get us on any flight that would get us to Houston that day.
So boom, book the United flight. Hope that it works out. We've got the United flight, and as we're getting into Orlando, it gets delayed.
So I've gotten used to Jacksonville.
No.
I walk up. There's like 3 people in line. You knock that out. You walk through security. It's almost I don't even have to stop at security. It flows so smoothly. So from the time that I enter to the airport to the time that I'm on the backside of security is never more than 15 minutes.
We get into the Orlando
airport. The line for United started like 2 terminals over. It was forever long. It's like, is this the apocalypse? Is this what the apocalypse looks like?
I mean, good for Charlotte. She was like, hey, I'm going to wait and make sure that y'all can get on this plane before I leave Orlando. Because, I mean, the deal is we, at this point, it's either we get on the United flight or we don't go to Texas.
Yeah.
Because we had to be in Texas before midnight because the race is in Galveston. We need the rental car from Houston to be able to drive to Galveston.
That was the issue.
And the rental car place closes at midnight. So you either get the car by midnight or you don't make it to Galveston. So that's why we couldn't. I think eventually Atlanta they could get us from Atlanta to Houston, but it was like 1 or 2 in the morning or something. Whatever it was, it wasn't going to work.
Yes.
Great, good for Charlotte. She's like, I'm going to hang out. So we get in line and call Charlotte and like, we're going to be in this line for more than an hour.
You could drive to Jacksonville and hang out for a while. Come back, we'll still be in line.
Because she's just kind of hanging out outside the terminal, and she's like, well, I'll hang out until they tell me to move. And so she hung out for, 20 or 30 minutes, and then they told her to move, and so she moved down to the United thing and hung out. Finally, they're coming along, and they're saying, hey, if all you need to do is check in, go to these automatic kiosks, and you can check in and then check your bags. Well, we're like, well, we do need to check in, but our flight got delayed. We're trying to get on an earlier flight. And finally, they were like, okay, we need to stay in this line. And then this lady comes by. She's like
supervisor too, man.
She's like, where are you going? And Houston. That's it?
Yeah, she's like, so what do you need? I was like, yeah, we're just trying to jump on an earlier flight.
She was like,
"Oh, that's easy."
She was like, "It's going to be standby." And we're like, "Oh, we're fine with standby, whatever." And she was like, "Where are you going?" "Houston." She was like, "Houston? That's easy. You can do that on the terminal, on these automatic things. Just tell them, something.
Oh no! So she took me over.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh,
but the first thing she said was do it on the little terminals.
Yeah.
And so she was like, "Come here and I'll show you." And so I was like, "All right, Sam, you go ahead and do that. I'm going to stand in this line with all of our bags because I want to make sure we don't lose our place in this line because we didn't know who she was."
Yeah.
And then I see Sam's over there. She had already taken him to one of the stand-up terminals. He had bypassed the entire line, and she took him up to the front and was taking care of him. And I was like, "Oh, this is gonna work out." And
so she's like, "Oh yeah, we can put you on this flight," and she calls and like, "Oh, they don't have pilots? Okay, thanks." Hangs up. "We're not gonna put you on that flight." So the storm, just everything had gotten messed up.
so the same storm that was coming through Ocala and was pouring on us had messed up the flights of all of Florida. Delta had canceled their flights because they were having other issues in Atlanta too, but everybody else had just delayed their flights, and so that's why United was still flying, but it was delayed. So long story short, we ended up getting standby on this one flight or booked on our regular flight.
Which was going to be 20 or 30 minutes later.
30 minutes later. But, 30 minutes is 30 minutes. So our bikes and stuff were going on our luggage was going on the first plane. And then if we made it on the first plane, great. If we didn't, we were going on the second plane and our bikes would just be waiting for us when we got there. That actually worked out pretty good. We did end up getting on the first flight. We were in the very back of the plane, which we're not used to being in the very back of the plane, but whatever. We got on it. It was fine. United's got us to Houston, and Delta could not.
So we appreciate it, United.
Yeah, thank you, United, for that. Delta, we have words for you. Anyway, so any other race stories? This is kind of, we're back on our travel stories.
So we're traveling. I don't really have anything exciting. The Houston airport we've done before, so there's nothing exciting there. We get the rental car. We go to the hotel. There's a scene in Seinfeld where he's getting a rental car and he's got a reservation, and we have your reservation, sir, but we don't have your car. Anybody can just take a reservation. Just what I need is for you to hold the reservation, to have the reservation. I watched Billy struggle with the exact same thing.
So we've learned that if you're going to be late checking into a hotel, later than, 10 o'clock, maybe, whatever the normal time is that people check in, you need to call them and tell them you're going to be late. Otherwise, they'll give away your room. We've had hotels actually give away our rooms before. This particular hotel gave away our room with 2 beds. All we wanted was 2 beds. It could be double beds, queen beds,
twin beds, slept in whatever.
I don't care. 2 beds. And I'm sorry, sir, we don't have any rooms with 2 beds. But that's what I booked. And I called and said that we were coming in late. And they were like, "Yes, but we have these king beds." But I paid extra for the 2 beds. Well, I understand. I can put you in the executive king suite or whatever. How many beds are in the executive king suite? The 1 king bed. But what I want...
And a sofa.
And a sofa. But what I want is 2 beds. And
we've done a race, and we're extremely tired. We've been up since, 4 in the morning, and this is now midnight.
This is midnight and we have to get up at 3 to...
Yeah.
So anyway,
Billy was being as nice as he could for as tired as he was. All I could do is just take a reservation. I was just watching Seinfeld do the entire thing. It was amazing.
Finally, he was like, "Well, we can put you in," and I was like, "Well, can you give me a better rate?" And he was like, "Well, I am giving you the better rate by giving you the better room, but you're not giving me the better room because I wanted one."
Still in it, King. We're gonna be in this room for 3 hours, and 100% of that time is gonna be sleeping. I'm over there. Dude, I don't care. The longer you argue, the less time I'm in. I'll sleep on the floor right now. Let me get some sleep.
So finally he said, "Well, we can put you in 2 beds tomorrow night. We have plenty of open space tomorrow night. We can put you in 2 beds." fine. Give me the room. Because we're only going to be in this room 3 hours. Literally 3 hours. We were going to leave our stuff in there, but 3 hours, and we were going to head out to the race. So took it, went to sleep pretty fast. I actually took a shower because we had not showered prior to that.
I didn't.
Sam
showered.
did the old wet wipes in the car.
I didn't even do that.
Oh, okay.
I toweled off in the car from the
gotcha.
rain. So I had a rain shower, I guess, as if that counts. Put on some deodorant.
I thought you were wet wiping in the back.
Man.
No. Okay. So anyway, I got a shower, got to sleep, woke up the next morning, headed down to Galveston.
You got out of that shower, I was already asleep. I plugged in my watch, I plugged in my phone, and passed out.
Did you ever shower?
The next day.
After the race?
After the second race. I think I was crusty. It's granola. It's cool, bro.
So we're heading down to the race, and we were just confirming with the Ironman folks that we could check in early. We'd already gotten permission to check in late, check in the morning of or whatever. Had not gotten any confirmation back from them. We're like, I sure hope.
We just fought 12 airlines and a storm. I feel like a Herculean effort was made to get here, and then we were not going to race. That was what I saw in my head. I said, come on.
So transition opens at 5. We wanted to get to the parking lot by 4:30 so that we could put together the bikes and be at transition by 5. So we do all that, and we're headed toward transition. Never did hear from anybody, but we knew the people that were going to be there. So we went to where we knew we had to go, and we're like, hey, so-and-so here, and they're like, oh yeah, hey guys, how are y'all doing? Y'all are probably pretty used to this or whatever. And we're like, yeah. So we check in, we're like, all right, we're good. Now we can race.
She pulled out 2 packets, so I was like, oh yes, we're racing.
Yeah, they knew what was up.
I was kind of excited about racing, and I was kind of not excited about racing. If we didn't race, I could have gone back to sleep. But
so we did the race. Went back to the hotel that night.
You were going to get your 2 beds.
I was. So we get back to the hotel.
So we both sleep in the same king bed. It's a king bed. You could have been jumping over on the other side, and I would not have noticed.
It doesn't matter. It's the point. I paid extra for 2 beds.
So he goes
for 2 beds.
He goes to go fight with them. I go straight upstairs for a shower. I was like, man, I don't know what's going to become of this, but I'm getting a shower one way or another.
So I go and I was like, hey, they were supposed to change us into. By this time it's 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
We drove down to Galveston, did the race, and we left at 3.
Mm-hmm.
We left at 3 in the morning, like literally 3 in the morning. Drove down to Galveston, did the race, did the pictures, talked with everybody or whatever, drove back. There was nothing really in between. Did we even stop and do anything?
No.
So 6 o'clock, back at 6 o'clock. Hey, they were going to change our room to 2 beds, and she was like, "Who is going to change your room to 2 beds?" The gentleman that I spoke with last night. She was like, I need your room. We're fully booked. I have rooms with 2 beds that are empty, but we're fully booked. I'm going to have your room cleaned. Let me go check with housekeeping. So she goes to check with housekeeping. I'm sorry, we can't clean your room. And I'm like, anyway, it was a long day. We ended up in the room with
the king bed. Man, I just have to go to sleep.
They did give me some Marriott points for the trouble.
So we have learned that when you do a double like this, not to travel that night because you're exhausted. Fried.
Yeah.
It is just not worth it. And I don't. That feels correct every single time. So we've now done this version twice where we did not travel that night.
And we did get up early the next morning to go hop on
like 7.
Yeah. So basically it's just a way for you to get in the bed and get some sleep without having to try to sleep on an airplane.
Yeah.
And we did not. What? Oh, you can finish telling your story. I ended up getting back to Athens fine. I flew from. So this was the original Delta flight that we had. I flew from Houston to Atlanta, and
no big deal.
No big deal.
I have no earthly idea what is going on with Delta right now. It is the beginning of April, so in 2022, but something is melting down in Atlanta. It's
So one of the Atlanta, while I'm waiting on my shuttle from Atlanta to Athens, one of the guys that said that some air traffic controllers had walked out on strike type thing. I looked for it up in the news, and there's nothing in the news about it, but they are saying that the FAA is having some trouble.
Delays.
So that would make sense that they're just not talking about it. Maybe it's not an organized strike. Maybe it's just some people that are mad or whatever. There's something wrong with the Atlanta terminal, the Atlanta airport right now.
But yeah, it was immediately like, you've got a 3-hour delay. I was like, dude, I got up early so that I could get home. I was supposed to go to I had a government meeting that afternoon. So I was going to fly in and land at like 1 o'clock, land at 1 o'clock, be home by 2 o'clock, and then be at the meeting for 3 o'clock. And the first delay that happened was I was going to be home at like 1:30. It's like, maybe. Then I was going to be landing at 2. I was like, oh, we're done. We're done. I didn't bring a suit with me to be able to go straight from the airport. So I started texting. This is like 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I tried to jump on different flights. I tried to move around, and it's just nothing. So something's going on. So I was very frustrated. But Delta gave me 20,000 Sky Miles when I called and complained. So call and complain was the lesson. And ask for Sky Miles was the lesson that some of us learned.
I hadn't gotten anything yet.
Yes.
I've called 3 times.
I just asked for Sky Miles. I got it, and I got 20,000, which is a whole lot. So that all worked out fine. I guess I still didn't make the meeting, but whatever. Learn lessons. So yeah, that was the end of that trip. Finally made it home at like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or something. I'm never in a good mood when that happens. Like,
Yeah,
man, I had a
doing
plan.
a double.
Just want to go home.
But the good news was it did pull off. I mean,
Good
there was
night.
we had to do some scrambling in there, but it pulled off. We got 2 races in, and they both counted, so that was good. We already finished both of them.
So, we're excited. Next weekend is Napa.
Just 1 race.
You know when our next double is? Europe. So we're going to Portugal and the Azores.
We've never done a double in Europe before.
I don't know that anybody ever has. We might be the first in history. I'm going to claim that.
Might be a new world record.
I don't know about a world record. I don't know if that's the record I really want to hold. Ever. I don't know if people in Europe have thought about doing doubles before.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The other swag that we got from the Alpha Win race was the Xterra string bag.
Whack bag, which I really like. I really appreciate that. All right. So after I get some sleep, we're going to get caught up on sleep and stay tuned for Napa next week. Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Got any other lessons, stories?
That's it.
Words of wisdom? Thanks so much for watching, guys.